These are all of the iPhones that have been released over the last 16 years. Looking a bit closer at the last 5, you'll notice a pattern. Every single phone looks the exact same. For a product as expensive as a smartphone, how can Apple still justify selling an identical product year after year? Well, believe it or not, this is actually all part of the plan. Looking back at history, complacency is the biggest sign that a major innovation is coming soon. And the technology life cycle shows that we're at a critical point for the future of smartphones. So, to figure out what's coming next, let's take a look at how we got to this point in phone technology. I recently picked up this original iPhone for $39 off of eBay, and I'm gonna compare it to my iPhone 14 Pro Max with iOS 17. Let's see just how far we've come with smartphones. Starting with the iPhone 1, what specs did it have? The flagship feature was that 3.5-inch multi-touch screen. On the phone, you could store between 8 and 16 gigabytes of data. It came with a high-quality 3-megapixel photo camera, and the battery would last anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. You also got iPhone OS 1, which came with Safari, email, phone calls, texts, YouTube, and Google Maps. And about a year later, the App Store was introduced, allowing you to get custom apps off the internet. Most importantly, though, it also came with your very own charging dock. This phone was groundbreaking for the time, which, looking back, is pretty insane. I distinctly remember around 2008 that my uncle had an iPhone at a family gathering. I was convinced that I needed to get one. It did take a while because I was an Android guy. Unfortunate, I know, but I did get there eventually. That being said, let's look at my iPhone 14 Pro Max. This screen is nearly double the size, with a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, whatever the heck that means. You can store 16 to 64 times the amount of data, with storage ranging from 128 gigs to a full terabyte. Oh, and let's talk about the cameras. There is 4 cameras on this phone, 3 on the back and 1 on the front, ranging from 4 to 16 times higher quality. There are built-in features to shoot live photos, HDR photos, night photos, panoramas, macros. I think you get it. You can also shoot 4K video in 60 frames per second, matching professional-grade cinema cameras. And the battery can last about 18 hours on a single charge. However, it does not come with a dock, so the original iPhone is gonna have to win. I can't believe we're at this point. In all seriousness, these phones have changed the way we live our lives. 100 years ago, you'd have to send a letter or a telegram to stay in touch with someone far away. Now you can send messages to anyone across the globe instantly. I work a remote job, and the closest person to me physically in my company is 1,500 miles or 2,400 kilometers away. We used to work jobs that were within walking distance in our local communities, but we're so integrated with tech now that a lot of our jobs exist only to build and maintain the programs we've created. Phones played a huge part in this always-on culture by saturating our lives with tech. So how did this happen? This is the technology life cycle, which shows the standard path that most major tech products follow. Looking at the iPhone, we can see that it followed this cycle to a T. Research and development started very early, 3 years before the iPhone was released, in fact. They poured in billions of dollars perfecting the iPhone, so when the launch came, they had to make up their losses. Early on, people tend to avoid buying unfamiliar tech products. They're expensive and often not really tested. But Apple had a huge sales opportunity, their event.
And we are calling it iPhone. So today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
And it worked well. Because of that, they sold 1.4 million units in just the first few months, fully bringing them out of their hole. But you can't just put out one phone and expect it's gonna change the world. Apple knew that most Americans were getting their phones through providers. So with a new phone getting released every year, they could cash in again and again on the same customers, giving them new updates and features along the way. In the beginning, there were drastic changes happening every single year. The App Store, Retina displays, larger screens, bigger and better cameras, the list goes on and on. But with the new competition from Android, in 2010, smartphones skyrocketed in popularity. Fast forward a few years, and looking at smartphone market saturation, we can see that in 2017, the momentum started to slow down a bit. Over those 7 years, everyone was getting a smartphone. Just a year after that momentum started to slow down, the iPhone X was released. Since then, there really haven't been that many major changes to the iPhone. Except for USB-C, that was groundbreaking. This is what we call maturity in the life cycle, where the tech gets so advanced that there's not much more room to innovate. Knowing that people are currently looking at their screens for an average of 7 hours a day, I mean, how much more can you even get? And over the last 16 years, Apple has been able to make trillions of dollars from the iPhone. Remember those letters, GTG? We're at a point now where we have to be constantly connected to our friends online and always aware of what's going on in the world. When the first iPhone was announced, it was designed to be an assistant to our lives. But now our phones have basically become our lives. The phone always eats first. Memories are captured through filters. Plans are created through blue bubbles, and literally everything can be accessed from your pocket. And the best part, Apple knows we don't have another option, so they know they don't really need to do that much to improve the tech. But that's changing. After Apple announced the iPhone 15 this year, the response was pretty mixed. There was some mild excitement around USB-C, but most people were highlighting the problems over the benefits. It's very clear that the market wants a change. And that's why I find Apple's Vision Pro headset so interesting. Unlike with Meta's headsets, they're designed to allow you to engage with the real world around you while using the tech. The headset is controlled with hand motions, not buttons. And most importantly, people can see you through the headset. I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this get announced, I thought it was just gonna be another VR headset that gets hyped for like 3 months and then dies off. But I realized something. 3 months later, Apple announced a new watch, one where you could control it with the same motions as the Vision Pro. Once that was shared, I started to realize that they're training us up to using the Vision Pro. Listen, no one is gonna wear a clunky headset around for 18 hours a day, but with how essential phones have become for our lives, seamless usage, maybe in a pair of glasses, seems like the most likely progression. If I'm being honest, I struggle to keep up with messages, and I hate this always on culture. I'm very likely to put my phone on Do Not Disturb for an entire day and deal with things when I'm ready for it. So if that's how I feel, and I know I'm not alone, what other options exist other than full integration? Folding phones are the other most recent change that we've seen. Now, early on, these phones had a lot of problems. If your main feature is the fold, and folding the phone can break it, that's a pretty big problem. But Samsung and Google have been going really hard with this tech, and it's definitely starting to look like a solid option for some people. Here's a wild stat. Last year, the iPhone 14 Pro Max had a 19% market share, where the iPhone 14 had 18% and the iPhone 14 Pro had 13%. Time and time again, people are choosing the top of the line option over anything else. So if the top of the line option is becoming the baseline, what other premium options exist? Folding phones. These are being designed for super users who are willing to pay a bit extra for more screen, performance, and usability, but they're not going to take over the entire smartphone market. So we're in the tail end of the maturity of smartphones at this point. But if there's only 2 alternatives, what's actually going to take over and bring the downfall of smartphones in the future? Well, here's the thing. I'm not a fortune teller, but it's looking like the integration between devices is going to be the next big key. The Apple Watch is always on you, keeping you updated with the most important messages. Your phone's always on you, basically like a computer in your pocket where you can do the most essential things, and you have your laptop or your computer where you do the main central activities. All of the integrations between these 3 seems like the most likely way that Apple's trying to get us to use their devices more. But here's the thing. I'm really excited to see what the next iteration of smartphones looks like, and I'll tell you why. As you see tech evolve and get better and better over time, you get to make the choice on whether you want to adopt it and how you want to adopt it. And if you're around my age, in your mid-20s, you grew up with these devices getting popular, meaning that we have the advantage to watch these things develop and make our own choices on how we want to use them. So whether it's a headset or a folding phone, or we stick with these iPhones for many decades to come, all I know is that these tools can be used to improve our lives, and everything that comes after this is only going to make it easier. I'm excited for the future of tech, and I'm excited to see how we get to use it. But I guess the question has always been, are we at the end of a good product or the beginning of the next evolution? Hey, thanks for watching. I'm Ben, in case you didn't know, and this is my channel where I talk about how the history of tech is influencing our future. If you like this video, you're gonna love everything else that I've been creating, and I've been working on a lot of videos coming up. In fact, this is actually the 3rd version of this video I filmed because I only want the best content coming out going into 2024. Anyways, if you did enjoy, please do like and subscribe down below. I'd greatly appreciate it, and check out the next video right here.